What do you prefer? Over the years of playing video games, a common question is, do you prefer games with a story that is more emotional engagement that resonates with players on a personal level, putting you at the edge of your seat with suspense, to a story that pulls you in with its world building, exploring the open world around you that has hidden lore, with interesting characters or group of characters that also have lore that drives the story, or to plan a character from the beginning, to see his or her development throughout the story, the decisions, the consequences, the relationships that shape the story around you as you play? Or are you into video games that are more multiplayer centered, that once you get home from school or work, you decide to hop into a party with your lads to play some online, making memories, funny discussions in the afternoon, to either carrying or getting carried in a match, pub stomping, trash talking in lobbies, dominating the opposing team, to attempting to level up with your friends to defeat a boss that is causing the community to find new methods or strategies to defeat that boss? Now, knowing both respective genres, there also comes a question of, can single player's narrative and multiplayer's gameplay combine to make balance between the two? Before we start this video, I decided that I wanted to make this type of video like an analysis video, because I found these type of videos interesting, especially when I've seen them more commonly now on YouTube more than not. And I've always wanted to discuss the argument of multiplayer versus single player games and how they always clash, but people always don't talk about the balance in between the two. Now, this video will be broken down into 4 parts, into stories and its chokehold, multiplayer and its chokehold, and the conclusion and my thoughts on both respective genres. Now, I don't normally make videos like these, like summary videos or short analysis videos. It's different from my type of content, but if you lads do enjoy this video, please hit that like button down below. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and share it around, because I do believe that these type of questions and discussions will make an interesting type of video. This video was not a long time coming, but it did take me a while to script the video and get the proper answers I was looking for. So if you guys do going to enjoy this video, please hit that like button down below. If you're new to my channel, please do subscribe. And yeah.
You're too smart for me, sister. I guess I'm afraid.
Let's talk about story-driven games. I'm talking about those games with its captivating story and its amazing narrative that pulls you into its fictional world and whisks you away into its story. I wrote that. Stories like Life is Strange, Red Dead Redemption, The Walking Dead, Last of Us, Detroit Become Human. Even huge fans of the Metal Gear series, Final Fantasy, or Mass Effect fans could even go on for hours telling you the story in its universe that is centered around that specific series. Every single one of those games have one thing in common, and that's how its story and the characters themselves can pull the player into its own universe. Reading lore logs, interaction between characters and their backgrounds, even music plays into it as well. For the community of story-driven games to deep dive into the lore and its world, the depth of what a protagonist stands for, morals, beliefs, and ideals, and an intricate plot as you progress through the story.
I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan.
Not to say that all story games are perfect or that all story games are amazing. There are some story games out there that even lack story. Even though that lacks story, it also lacks character depth or development throughout the game. Forspoken.
You could blend in a whole lot better if you shut the fuck up.
They can't hear him.
But even so, it isn't rare to see a story game that lacks story. Even so, story games are what reels people into its narrative and its universe. Or you're playing it just to watch a character's development throughout the story. Or you could play it for both. Whatever the case may be, whatever you're playing the story for, you're likely playing it alone. Experiencing the story's emotion, plot, etc. alone. Unlike story mode counterpart. It's the same concept. You come home from school and you want to go in the game with your lads, and you decide to go in the online session to get the thrill of multiplayer. Multiplayer being what it is, even inside the name, multi being more than one person, and player meaning that there's someone else like me in you playing the same game as we are. And knowing that what multiplayer is, it also comes with the mindset to yourself that you would feel like that you're better than the person you're playing against, saying as if you have more experience than the other person you're playing against, or you have better strategies than the person you're playing against, which also makes it more fun to play online or playing multiplayer games or multiplayer center games, because you're also getting the competitiveness of what it feels like to have someone else is just as good as you. Video games such as Smash, Mario Kart, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear, Call of Duty, and Fortnite, etc. The competition or the difficulty of what multiplayer can be. Having that satisfying feeling to beat someone else that played the same game as you and put as many hours as you did in the same game, it's a satisfying feeling to know that you are better than a person that you're playing against.
I'm the gun, you fucking riot shield. What else am I gonna talk about? Riot shield. I'm a pussy that use riot shield.
You can also dive deep into the competitive side of video games such as esports. Seeing how the community can come together with these teams and go across the country or even the world at some point that can go against other players that play the same exact game as you and put in the same exact hours but using different strategies. I've asked multiple people that play mainly online games what gives them the satisfaction when they play online, and the answer were pretty much the same, if not close to similarity, that the satisfaction that they get from it is when they play with friends. It's playing together with friends and having a full squad of 6 to play Call of Duty, to pub stomp, or play Search and Destroy with friends. But not all multiplayer games have to be just Call of Duty. Titles like Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield, Apex, Team Fortress 2, etc. The teamwork, the communication, and the quick thinking that is centered on these type of multiplayer games. And to also add a quick note, not all multiplayer games have to be straight up shooter games. Like, there are multiplayer games out there that are just straight, just having fun or just being together, like Minecraft. Earlier, I talked about the multiplayer community and how people get ready for DLCs, or they come together with these leaks to just discuss them amongst the community. I feel like nothing pulls more than the multiplayer community together than seeing a teaser trailer or a new DLC that's probably going to be released. Seeing that many people, like content creators and streamers, come together to discuss it with the other people around the world that also plays the same game as them, to discuss that, it's also a warm moment within that community, that there are people out there that enjoy the game that much that they want to discuss it with other people inside of the community, probably people they played against, or even esports, like I said, they play against each other to talk about DLC or a teaser trailer. Also reading patch notes to see if there's any new metas or any new buffs or nerfs that can also be discussed within that community. But not all multiplayer has to be competitive or even a sweat fest. There can also be multiplayer that has a story. Now, knowing the pros and cons of both respective genres, with story mode having its in-depth world building and its character development throughout the story while finding its lore about its world, and the plot throughout its game or game series, with multiplayer's counterpart. Its fast-paced, quick thinking, communication between friends, deciding strategies, with the competitiveness in that community, to the company also being connected within that community itself. Now, knowing that, you have to sit back and ask yourself, is it possible to have the best of both worlds? Or can you find a balance between the fast-paced multiplayer with its in-depth storytelling? Now, there are video game titles that do share these characteristics which I described. Titles like Division, Warframe, Destiny, and Destiny 2, Minecraft, as I said earlier, knowing that Minecraft is more of a game that's built on having an imagination, but with that imagination, you can create your own world with or without your friends. But I would say Bungie with Destiny has somewhat the perfect blend of both multiplayer and story. The blend of its deep and in-depth storytelling, playing solo or cooperative with competitive game modes. This not only satisfies the community with its narratives, but it also gives room for the community to discuss those narratives within other people. It gives room for the community to discuss the story and the narrative and the characters and the character development throughout the story of two games. But seeing the blend of both can also be seen from when the community comes together once a raid, solving puzzles, looking for dialogue in between characters, with a team of 6 trying to progress through the story, with communicating and coming up with strategies to have an advantage. Not saying that Destiny has the best story, knowing what they're going through right now, but there are other games out there that is just like Destiny, not even just like Destiny, but as I said earlier, that shares this blend of story-driven character development and its plot with a narrative, and with multiplayer's fast-paced and quick thinking. and with that community coming together to discuss those theories about a certain story that's going on or a certain character that is being talked about with dialogue. But knowing all of this, knowing what story-driven games are and what multiplayer is in its respective communities, earlier I asked a question on what do you prefer, and that's what pretty much is all about. Your preference. What do you prefer? Everyone has a preference that prefers to themselves. I believe everyone's preference is based on what they like or that holds connection to oneself. Now, for me, for example, I prefer to play story-driven games because I hold connection to story-driven games. I like the philosophy, the narrative, and the character development if on a certain game. If you ask my older self, or my younger self, I should say, what games do I prefer, I would most likely say multiplayer. But not to say that I don't right now at this moment don't enjoy multiplayer. It's just that I prefer to play alone. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing multiplayer games with my friends. It's just that once I fell into story-driven games, I couldn't get out of it. I enjoy story... What the fuck? I enjoy games by getting deep into the lore of certain video games. The narratives, the characters, the world building itself, and the message of what the game is. And sometimes, even with those games, they also have philosophical themes. I would like to make my own video or my own interpretation of what Nier Automata was as a video game and its deep philosophical theme behind it. Or the Nier series in general, which also explores the characteristics I explained. But besides that, I prefer to play story-driven games that make me take a step back and just make me realize what I just witnessed or what I just did to a certain character. Or like my decisions, as I've also pointed out, but story-driven games bring on to you. They're your decisions that you make while you're playing the protagonist or the group of people that you're playing as with the decisions you, yourself, the player, decided to make. It's all based on what you prefer to yourself. It's not based on what your friends say. It's not based on what a YouTuber says or a streamer says. It's only on your preference, on what you prefer to yourself. Which you might have the same answer as a certain person or you might not, which is fine because that's what you prefer. That is your preference. And it's good to have a preference. It's based on what you like or what gives you enjoyment or what can also be your escapism.
I wish things were different. But it weren't us who changed.
Well, that'll do it. This video didn't really take long to make, knowing I haven't been uploading the past couple of months, which I was in a tough spot and I was also doing other endeavors. But other than that, this video isn't supposed to talk about which one's better or which one is better than the other or which one is just what I prefer. Knowing I said that in my preference and my conclusion. But other than that, yeah, this is a video that took a lot of thinking, but I decided to take the risk and make this video. But if you guys enjoyed this type of analysis summary video, please hit that like button down below. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. And yeah, share it around. And I hope you guys have a good day.